Hi, I'm Natalie, also known as the Liquid Muse. As a cocktail book author, blogger, and mixologist, I'm always looking for new inspiration. Welcome to Inspired Sips with the Liquid Muse. We're standing at the molasses mixing tank, and I have to say, this smells incredible. What happens here?
What we do here is this is our big mixing tank, and as you can see, our molasses comes in and it's awfully thick. So, we need to mix it with the water and the yeast, otherwise it literally would just, layer itself. We really try to do this the old-fashioned way, and we don't do this an old-fashioned way just to say we do it the old-fashioned way. We do it the old-fashioned way because we really think it makes a difference in the end. After we have it all mixed up, we'll push it into our fermentation tank, and in our fermentation tank is where all of this, the whole process begins. And then I promise you that when we taste our distillate at 157 proof, you're going to taste this molasses.
So once the molasses and yeast and water have been stirred, they come to the fermentation tank. What happens here?
Here we kind of really let the molasses and yeast do what it needs to do. It could take, in a hot summer day like this, it could take 3 days. When it cools down in this warehouse, it could take 5. We really let this, through the entire process, let the rum speak to us. We don't make it do things that it can't and shouldn't do. And that is the secret of having our flavor profile through and through. So after sitting here for 3 to 5 days, depending on the conditions in our distillery that week, we'll go from here over to our pot still. What you'll see behind here is a row of milk containers. One's my fermentation, one's a holding, and here's a pot still. What we've added here is a heating unit, and then you'll see our cooling units up top. But we go through the pot still and we push it through there kind of fast and just collect everything that's out of there. What this is really doing is just catching us up in that fermentation process. We want to carry as much flavor as we can, but we want to get it to a higher proof before we go to the column still.
There's something very unusual about this still. It used to be used in a perfume factory.
Yes.
Tell us.
Yeah, it is. This is, again, really throwing a wrench into the typical distilling, and again, why I've chosen to use beer people to make my product here as opposed to a distiller. A typical column still, where you see each of these rings, would be another plate. And what you would do is you'd load this in, and again, talking about fingerprints of alcohols, the further you go up, the purer the alcohol. But the problem with the purer the alcohol, there's less flavor. By definition, an ethanol is a neutral spirit. Well, I'm making rum. So what we've done here is we have tiny scrub brushes all stacked up on top of each other in there. And this clicking you hear every once in a while is actually all the distillate that's there coming over. And what we do is we start taking readings and collecting it over here. And the readings and collecting it over here, again, fingerprints. Fingerprints, fingerprints. It allows you to know what you need to take off and keep what you need to do. Now, rum of all the spirits out there is the hardest to make because your flavor profile should come from your distillation. And your distillation, just knowing a little bit of that head's in there and a little bit of that tail's in there, that's what we're looking for and that's what we're after. And that's the secret to rum. A lot of other spirits out there, even terrific gins, they all start out as neutral spirits and then they get mixed and blended at the end. We are getting this flavor profile through this process. And I keep telling you, when we go over there and taste our distillate at 157 proof, you're going to taste those sugars.
What do you do at this step in the process?
What this is, again, traditional way of doing things. We have a reservoir up top that collects what we refer to as white dog, and we filter it through this carbon filter. What all this is charged carbon that we run the rum through. Now it takes about 7 hours for every 55 gallons. And that really is a secret of how you filter this, is that making sure that you're getting, the bad alcohols that are left in there out and still keeping your flavor profile. If you do it too fast, you don't get enough of those bad alcohols out. If you do it too slow, then you lose all the flavor that you're in there for. What I have here in this glass, what we have coming out here is the distillate at 157 proof. Now, this really should be, a neutral spirit is what most people would have at this point. But what we're really proud of and what I keep saying is, you're going to taste those sugars. So if you dip your finger in there and then see, you get that alcohol burn, but
it
you
already tastes like
sugars.
rum.
So once we collect this, we do one of 3 things. Either we go to our blending tank directly with our white rum, and for every 500 gallons, I'm only adding 2 cups of vanilla. That's how much flavor is coming through this process, and how little we need to add. The second thing we'll do is, if you look behind us and you'll see all these beautiful barrels, these are old bourbon barrels. Now, it's not a secret in the rum game to use bourbon barrels to age your product, but what we do is we do it at such high proof that we are getting as much flavor as we are getting from the rum, from the barrels, as we are color.
If you have any doubts that we are truly in an artisanal spirits, Distillery, just take a look at this bottling machine. It fills about half a case at a time, and then, as Ben says, it's lazy Susie on the end kind of dribbles it in really, really slowly.
Still does her thing, just at her own pace.
So this is, when you're talking about small batch, this is small batch.
We have 2 distillers that work swing shifts between the 2 of them. So, they run the still sometimes from 8 in the morning till 8, 9, sometimes again when it tells us it's ready, 11 o'clock at night. Our typical production is making a wash 1 day a week, letting it sit for 3 to 5. Then we run the columns or our pot still for a day and a half, and then our column still for a day and a half. So it's about 7 days, through the entire process to get that done. As soon as we bottle it and make it, people are taking it.
What do your rums run?
Our white rum typically is the $18 range. Our aged 3-year-old rum, which is actually a combination of 3, 4, and 5-year-old rum, is $22, and our spiced rum is $25. Our spiced rum is 80 proof, and again, all natural. I think that we are in the ultra premium mentality, but in the premium price. We want people to come and try us. I don't want someone to come up to a shelf and say, you know what, I might have tried this if it was $4 difference. I'd rather have another fan than another $4. And fans become fanatics, and that's what we're after.
We're gonna go tasting! Woo!
Come on, everyone.